chance to be in the movies, but now also a mecca for the underside of all that, high crime, drug use, and prostitution. No, that's not what Lois Lee does. This is what Lois Lee does.
Can I ask you a question? You seen this little girl? These are missing children. Seen this little girl?
This number here is a 24-hour hotline.
Okay.
If you're ever in trouble and you need help.
I know you.
Well,
of course I know you.
This number here is 24 hours if you need help.
The street is a war zone. When I'm out on the streets, I have to watch my back. I have to keep my eyes open. I have to keep my ears open. And I'm constantly aware of who's standing behind me.
Who is this Lois Lee? A 35-year-old sociologist who founded and directs Children of the Night, an organization aimed at getting young runaways and prostitutes off the streets of Hollywood. Lee grew up far from this life in the middle-class suburb of Los Angeles. Today, she lives with her husband, Michael, a real estate developer, in the valley, miles away from the streets she roams at night looking for these kids. While Michael and Lois are expecting their first child, Lois Lee has been taking kids into her home for 7 years. How did she come to this line of work? By accident.
When I was 19, I wanted to be an FBI agent, and they wouldn't let women in the FBI.
She ended up pursuing a doctorate on the most common first-time felony among women, prostitution. How did she find the kids?
I was working with adult prostitutes first. They said, you know, it's too late for you to help us, Lois. You've got to do something about these kids. We made a choice to be out here. It was a conscious decision that these kids don't stand a chance. The kids have no alternative except for the pimps and Children of the Night.
How many of these kids have you taken into your home?
Over 250 kids in a 3-year period, and I still occasionally bring kids home.
Why did you do it?
Because the kids were so compelling. The kids could read, they could write, they were articulate. It wasn't as if there was a limited amount of hope. There was a lot of hope. These kids were able to, with a little bit of support, were able to get back into school, to assume jobs, and make it on their own.
For those she doesn't reach, the alternatives can be bleak.
Hands up. Put your hands up.
The police often raid abandoned houses in Hollywood looking for runaways or criminal activity. In this condemned building, they found 7 people sleeping here, among them a pregnant 17-year-old girl who said she'd left home in Florida 5 years ago to come to Hollywood. She was taken in as a runaway and sent to juvenile hall. In cooperation with the police, Lee had one of her volunteers there to tell the girl about Children of the Night. Later, Lee was tracking her down.
This is Dr. Lois Lee from Children of the Night. I'm calling you about Angela, who was picked up in that condemned building the other day. And I wanted to do a follow-up on this. Has she been to court yet?
Children of the Night looks for 12 to 17-year-olds who are on the streets and brings them in before they are picked up by the police to help them find a home, counseling, a job, school, or simply a way out. With a small staff and a score of volunteers, Lee claims to have helped almost 5,000 kids get off the streets since 1979. Lee says many of these kids have been abused, tossed out of their homes, or are runaways who arrive in Hollywood with virtually nothing. How can they survive?
Through prostitution, petty theft, or dope peddling. And prostitution is the easiest, and it's the most common.
I didn't really get into prostitution then until I came to Hollywood. And then I was really on my own. I didn't have any friends, and I didn't have anything to do. I'd have to go pull a trick for something to eat, or a place to stay.
Michelle Martin says she ran away from home at 15 because her father had abused and molested her since she was 6. Lois Lee found her in Hollywood as a prostitute with a serious drug habit. Today, at 19, she attends college and works part-time with Children of the Night.
It's pretty easy. You walk down the street, and I could walk 3 blocks, and at least 5 cars would stop. And I didn't have to dress like a hooker. I didn't have to go to Sunset Boulevard and have that so-called hooker name. It's just like if I were to go to school, I'd wear my regular school clothes, walk down the street, and that's what they were looking for, a little schoolgirl type.
One day a car stopped and someone asked,
And I got in. That's where it started.
were you afraid when you got into cars?
When I got in the car, I was scared every time.
How did you live with that kind of fear every day?
I had no choice. Fear or starve.
It's a sexual supermarket, and kids are the market.
What made you trust Lois Lee?
Her taking me in her custody, clearing up my warrant, and taking me to her house in Beverly Hills. Well, she didn't know if I was the next day going to leave with all her stuff. I mean, I'd never had anybody trust me that much to say, yes, I'll take this child in my custody. If I were to mess up, it's her on the line.
You deal with pimps and drug dealers and teenage prostitutes?
Yes.
You go into these places where the pimps hang out?
Oh, yeah.
Why?
If a parent contacts me and is looking for their 13-year-old daughter, I need to know where to go.
You ever afraid?
Yeah, from time to time I'm afraid. But I know what the street rules are. I know what the pimp game is. I know what the con games are. And it's up to me to play that game correctly. If something happens to me on the street, I've screwed up.
Has anyone ever accused you of having led this life?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And in fact, I still, from time to time, get calls from people that I dealt with years ago when I had kids living with me in my house, and they called to apologize because when they were coming to interview me, they'd make a joke to their friend that they were interviewing the biggest madam in Beverly Hills. There's no question that I over-identified with the kids, and I've taken this issue to heart.
You're pregnant now with your own child. How do you give time to your own life, to your husband?
Because the kids that I work with are also part of my personal life. I was real surprised how receptive the kids were to the fact that I'm pregnant. And then I also had to kind of suffer the consequences because a couple of kids came up to me and they were pregnant too. My husband is tremendously supportive of what I do, but I picked him that way. I mean, I looked for someone that could be a good father to my street kids.
She says she picked you out.
She probably did. That's the way she runs her life.
How do you mean?
Well, when she wants something, she normally gets it.
The kids came with the package?
That was part of the deal.
Does it ever bother you what she does?
Definitely. Hopefully one of these days she'll get out of it.
But Lois Lee says she won't get out of it until she completes her mission, building a shelter for these kids. In Los Angeles, there are only a handful of programs for homeless teenagers. The city has just 58 beds for such kids, so many of them end up in detention. Lois Lee's shelter would be a place for these kids who can't or won't go home. She has to spend a lot of time trying to sell Children of the Night to civic groups in Beverly Hills, Hollywood, and the LA area. Government money, according to Lois Lee, has too many conditions attached. She calls them ropes rather than strings. So she runs Children of the Night with private funds. It's an expensive proposition that she says keeps her with one foot in the gutter and the other in Beverly Hills. It's a long way from the streets, the pimp bars that you know, to the ladies' tea room in Pasadena.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
But you make that transition.
I have to make that transition because if I want people to support this issue and do something for these kids, I have to give them something they can relate to. And fortunately or unfortunately, that's me. I am so committed to this. Even my PhD in my own mind is only a union card to get me in the door so that I can raise the funds and put together the program that these kids so desperately need.
You sell yourself instead of the program?
Yes, because people want to touch me. They want me at their events. They want me to dress a certain way. Very difficult for me to be here with you today and to say the Pledge of Allegiance and to sing America the Beautiful when I know that every minute that there's children who are on the streets who are forced to prostitute for food to eat and a place to sleep, and they are without resources. They often wake up in the middle of the night with nightmares. And I have terrible nightmares. I have nightmares about people chasing me, people being able to corner me. And if this is what I go through, I don't have to live out there. Can you imagine what a 12-year-old girl must go through?
According to some of its fundraisers, Children of the Night is one of the most difficult groups to raise money for, not only because of the stigma attached to prostitution, but because of the stigma attached to Lois Lee's principal supporter. From the beginning, Hugh Hefner of Playboy has been a major backer. He donated the startup money to found Children of the Night in 1979. And since then, Playboy has been one of Lois Lee's biggest supporters. Here at the Playboy Mansion in Beverly Hills, they sponsor an annual benefit. The celebrities come out, they say, because of Lois Lee.
Thank you so much for helping us out.
Are you kidding? I'd find a dime I would do this. Anyway,
It's wonderful.
Oh, nice to meet you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. This is my favorite fundraising event. And it's because I know most of you and because most of you already support Children of the Night. Hugh Hefner, a main source of support for me. We use their attorneys, their personnel department, you name it, they got it, we use it.
Jenny Jones, an insurance executive in Beverly Hills, volunteers her time to raise money for Children of the Night. She says some people have a problem about the Playboy connection.
People's reaction is almost always the same. Why is Playboy supporting Children of the Night when they turn around and publish a magazine that exploits exactly what they're supposedly trying to help? I mean, that it doesn't go together.
Well, if people equate the notion of sexual freedom and a positive communication through both pictures and text, if they equate that with prostitution, I think that is society's problem. And that's part of what we're fighting.
I mean, if someone's from part of the moral majority, or heavily, very involved in Catholicism, or right to life, and they won't give me money because of Playboy, I understand that, and I have to really take that to heart. However, those are not the people that say that to me. The people that say that to me are people that aren't going to give me money anyway. And there's something that I will never, ever forget. I remember the days when there was no money and I had kids in my house and we didn't know where we were going to eat. And there was no one except for me, the kids, and Playboy. And when people say that to me, that because of Playboy they can't give us money, that's only a stone's throw away from saying you can't save those kids and they aren't worth saving anyway. If it's not Playboy, it's something else.
But the Playboy connection didn't stop President Reagan from naming Lois Lee one of the 1984 Volunteers of the Year.
To me, those are chips. Those are chips that I'm trying to cash in order to raise the money to set up this shelter. If a picture of me with the president is what it takes in order to get $100,000 out of a foundation, I'll go to Washington and have my picture taken. I will say something about that award. For the first time in my career, I could see that someone of significance, the President of the United States, could put prostitutes in a category of people who needed help. And that had never been done before.
There are no official figures on how many of these kids stay off the streets or how many return to that life. But according to Lois Lee's follow-up, 80% of the first-time runaways reached by Children of the Night do not return to the street. Many find legitimate work, return to school, or manage to get back into mainstream society.
Do you think you'll go back?
No.
Well, you see other kids out on the street. What would you say to those kids?
You got to look for another way.
Children of the Night?
It's a way out if you're really willing to try.
But it's no guarantee.
You can't guarantee anything. You can't guarantee anything. Can't guarantee I'll be alive tomorrow.
You can't guarantee that you won't go back on the streets either, can you?
No. Can't guarantee it. Been there once. Could happen again.